A couple of weeks ago, I asked you a question, what two decks I should compare next? And you responded. And here we have the video. I'll be comparing the Tarot of the Abyss and the Ethereal Visions head to head. I'm going to give them an honest pause on the cat meter, and it's going to be interesting. Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, I'm Jay, and this is Luminous Tarot, where I bring you weekly deck reviews to inspire readings. I also do educational videos and actual readings with the help of Dr. Kotnik, who is a master of many talents, but none of them are useful. Unless, of course, you consider napping and eating tuna snacks a useful thing.
Let's agree to disagree.
Alright, we're going to start with the Tarot of the Abyss. This is created by Ana Tourian, and this deck has a bit of a cult following. It was released by US Games in 2021, and it's an 80 card deck. It's got 2 extra cards. It's alternative meaning to one of the cards, and I'll show you what they are. It comes in a sturdy box, and if you probably already figured out, this is a black and white deck. It was also called to be a deck created by tarot reader for tarot readers. It comes with a 150-page book, and you do need a book to get a bit of the nuanced meanings of the cards, because while it's RWS based deck, it has some differences. Cards, as I mentioned, black and white, or maybe grayish, not necessarily got black. It's sort of like, feels like a sepia kind of style. Quite sturdy cards, I would say. Don't know exactly what the density of paper is, but they feel like it can be your workhorse deck. On the back, you've got this floral pattern. Ethereal Visions. Very different take. So this is created by Matt Hughes. Original version, I think, came out in 2017. Now, I believe this was originally a Kickstarter project, but then was picked by US Games. And there are different versions of it. So I've got the illuminated, expanded guidebook deck, and it's, I believe, a lunar version, which is a little bit different, but don't know exactly. I think the golden gilding may not be the same or not there at all. It comes in a really sturdy box. So this deck is also got a couple of extra cards. These are 2 major arcana cards been added. I think Artists in a Well. We'll have a look at them in due time. So a beautiful gold gilded box, and you probably figured out there's going to be some gold on the cards as well. It's got a really nice shine. And this deck feels like it wants to be your friend right out of the box. It's just shiny, beautiful, and sort of got this sunny feel to it, where our friend on the right takes a bit of a warming up to. Also comes with a decent guidebook, probably even more pages than the one, actually, no, 140, 10 pages less. It does have color though. And in the box we have actual cards. So these are not in the pre-packaged order. I actually been shuffling and using them, but cards have this beautiful ornament on the back, also floral, and they are bigger cards. So if we compare these two, there's a slight difference, only a slight one, and in a second we're gonna see if it's affecting shuffling and if cardstock is on par. The cards are quite bendy, but let's have a look how they actually handle the shuffling and what the paper quality is like. So cards from Tarot of the Abyss, I would say they have a matte finish. They're not really shiny, and they do feel pretty good in your hands. Thickness wise, I feel like they're slightly or thicker or on par with the Ethereal Visions, but they are bigger cards too. Both have matte finish, I would say. They don't really shine that much. And yeah, interesting enough, they have a kind of similar pattern on the back. Shuffling, well, let's take a look. So, Tarot of the Abyss. It's easy as. They handle refill shuffle pretty well too, though they're a little bit on the thick side. It doesn't stop you from refill shuffle them if you want to. just beware, you're going to probably ruin your deck if you continue doing that. But if it's your workhorse, then this is probably something you want to do. This one should shuffle slightly better, only if I didn't botch it. Overhand, pretty much on par. I would say that Ethereal Visions probably slightly harder to manage just because they're slightly taller, but not by much. And yeah, you can easily handle it if you have medium-sized hands like I do. So the artwork in the Tarot of Abyss, it's aligned with Rider-Waite-Smith, but there are some creative differences, which I also like. They don't contradict the original meanings. For instance, the Five of Pentacles looks pretty much what you see with the pentacles here, and I don't think it's a church, it's just a building, but again, sense of maybe poverty, not belonging, and going through some turmoil related to life and some financial or some material possessions, so to speak. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So Four of Wands pretty much uses the Rider-Waite-Smith pillars there with the flowers, but in the middle you've got this girl with a birthday cake, right, which is celebration. And I think it's interesting because I often interpret Four of Wands as coming home or building strong foundation, where this kind of has a different meaning. And that's what my suggestion was, to use Tarot of Abyss. But irrespective of that, you can connect with Tarot of Abyss very easily. It's that's what I like about it. It's sort of down to earth deck, and it's got a lot of deep symbolism and meaning. And it also has something to do with the amount of work that the author put in. I can see how drawing these cards would take a very long time. This is now a creative difference, Five of Wands, rather than having people who got two birds taking it out on each other. Now, there are some cards that's been renamed, like Awakening here. That's your Judgment card. Beautiful, nevertheless, Ascension and the wings, the connection between the material and spiritual world. So change here, the Wise One is a Hierophant. He's a shaman, which is a different, it's more of a spirituality here than the tradition and orthodoxy. Now, Three of Swords, these are alternate meaning cards, so you've got two here, which I quite like. Both symbolize the same thing, and I think both are equally beautiful, though I think this one shows more of a mental anguish, I would say, where this one shows more affairs of heart and disappointment. So there actually is a different meaning for these two. The Ethereal Visions, on the other hand, is a completely different take. You've got colors here, though they're not really overpowering here. It's probably more of a gold that really sticks out, but it complements, the gilding complements the card and the art style in a beautiful way. So what you see here is a French Art Nouveau style mixed with Rider-Waite-Smith symbolism, and it's done in a more subtler way. The ethereal, as it suggests here, the figures here, they're almost air-like, almost like angelic or spirit feel to them. That's why they're not very punchy. And the deck also, while it may not have the same level of, I would say, artistic inclination, it's still nevertheless beautiful, right? So it follows the Rider-Waite-Smith quite closely in that. And this subtleness also translates itself really well into readings. I just finished reading with this deck before recording this, and I was quite pleased. One of my favorite readers on YouTube also uses this deck quite a bit, and it's quite interesting. What I like about this deck, this art style allows you to make your readings and predictions without being sort of pushed into one direction. And because this card gives you space, it invites you to make your interpretation, where I think with the Tarot of Abyss, it's a different connection with the deck, if you will. And cards here as well, if you're familiar with Rider-Waite-Smith, you're not going to have issues with this one. You still have the same characters, even lemniscates are in the same places. It's not very peepish, so you've got images like here. And it's not brutal either, because there are any really strong cards with, you know, like tens of swords here. While you still have swords and all that, it doesn't have the same traumatic sort of punchy effect than a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck would. I want to do a read for my next week, and we'll do 3 cards, intuitive reading. So, interesting week ahead, what can I say? The theme, the 5 of Cups. Sounds like there's going to be some regret coming my way, and potentially looking at what could have been versus what is there. The 6 of Wands. Well, this looks like a ballerina, ballet dancing here, and she's clearly victorious. Now, this is our theme, challenge, and advice card. And the way I read it is that there's a potential to get trapped into these feelings of what could have been by comparing myself to others and going on a little ego trip, thinking that, well, because that didn't work out, then this is a time to feel sad and remorseful. And the advice here, the Page of Cups, we got this fellow here who is sitting in front of an ocean with a cup. I'm not quite sure what he's doing. So let's just take the Page of Cups as an intuitive reading card. And I would say that the advice here is to listen to the heart, not trying to solve this by comparing yourself to others or thinking that what could have been and these victories didn't work out, and look at more of the stuff is already there. Oh wow, the Hanged Man, the King of Wands, and the Temperance. It feels to me that these two are drawing a very simple picture of, if anything, they seem to be complementing each other. So the theme of the week, well, putting myself through pain of some kind of uncomfortable feeling to gain a sudden realization. And this is self-inflicted. And I can see how this is perfectly working with each other, because realization is leading to the 6 of Wands. In this scenario, we've got the King of Wands here. That's an obstacle. And I think the King of Wands that's exactly what's happening here, because of overinflated ego or a sense of self-importance, or maybe getting caught up in emotional pursuit and trying to come across as bold and charismatic leader. This may potentially affect the hangman, because the idea of a hangman is putting yourself through some uncomfortable situations to learn the truth about yourself, to gain that sacred knowledge, otherwise it would be possible. Now, the Temperance card suggests here that to gain that sacred knowledge is about balance. It's about being successful and leading yourself or others. It's also important to be humble, and that's how you get that sacred knowledge. Quite interesting. Now, how do I feel about this read? The Tarot of Abyss was designed with the idea of self-transformation in mind, right? And that's why I think it's quite dark, this deck, because it makes you to face the uncomfortable truth, or truths in this case, 78 of them, in fact. The Ethereal Vision is a very different deck. It was designed with the idea of hope. It's a personal project. I think it started with Kickstarter and then turned into this with 2 editions now. And they read very different. We're not comparing decks that one is better than the other, right? This is definitely more to do with a personal choice. I would say from packaging perspective, they both have sturdy boxes. The cards beautifully designed. And both have similar looking guidebooks, one with color, but because the other deck doesn't have any color in it, I think it's also a tie. So I'm leaning more towards the Ethereal Vision just because I like the gold gilding and the overall card design. But I would say it's a tie here. Now, when it comes to the cards shuffling, they're both very close. I'm not intended to use the Ethereal Visions for riffle shuffling, but you can, neither with this one. While this deck, the Tarot of Abyss, is very decent in shuffling, this one also not bad. It holds really well. They don't fly out of my hands like some Los Scarabeo decks do. So I would say they're pretty much on par. I can't really fail them on this. Art and Symbolism, well, this is going to be a personal choice, so please do not hate me. But I'm usually drawn more toward colored decks, like this one here, just because my eye immediately has a lot of details to latch on. With darker decks, I struggle sometimes to see this detail. I think this deck will require a longer time spent with it, trying to work out every detail, and there's so much detail there. I would say from the Art and Symbolism, I prefer, just because of the color, the Ethereal Visions Tarot. So now over to you. You probably have both of these, or maybe one of them. What do you think? What is your preference? If you like the Ethereal Visions more, drop me a comment. I would love to know. And this is it for today. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.